Hey, experts listeners. I want to key you into something that we do very special here at Ops Experts Club, and that's a masterclass. We have a free masterclass called Foundations That Scale. And the great thing about this masterclass is it's for operation professionals who are growing businesses. One of the most dangerous things you can do as an operator is grow businesses on a foundations that's not stable. So in this particular masterclass, we take apart all of the inside pieces of your team, your tech, and how they're using time. And we make sure that you're building on a foundation that's stable. So if you want to check out a great masterclass completely for free, go to foundationsthatscale.com. We'll see you there.
Welcome to the Ops Experts Club with Aaron, Taryn, and Savannah. This podcast will take you behind the scenes of some of the finer details of multi-million-dollar companies. These ops experts have dealt with operations for scaling companies and well-established businesses with anywhere from small to large teams. If you've ever been deep into the details of a major company, then you know how much it takes, and these conversations are just for you. Welcome to the Ops Experts Club podcast.
Well, Ops Experts Club, you guys are missing Taryn Turner today. Taryn had some things to deal with on the ranch because the dude is full-blown. Old Mick Turner had a farm. It's not even a joke. Taryn does. But I do have an amazing guest today that I'm really excited about, and he's going to be bummed to have missed. So today on Ops Experts Club, we have joining me Dr. Jim Bob Haggerton, who has just become such an amazing friend to me this last year. We're both in a mastermind together. P. Vargas has a mastermind called Wellspring, and we've just got to be good friends. So Jim, thanks for joining me today.
Aaron, thanks for having me, dude. I'm pumped.
Yeah. So anyway, Dr. Jim Bob, I feel like we could talk about a million different things. Like you've got a literal physical doctor as far as chiropractic, did that for a number of years. Your story is incredible.
Yep.
You went on beyond, obviously you've gone so much beyond that and the things that you coach, the things that you teach, but maybe just catch up the crowd today on some of the things that you've done and especially some of the things you're proud of and things that you're doing now.
Sure. I think the thing that I'm the proudest of, Aaron knows, is I've been married to this amazing woman for 23 years and we've got 6 kids. And so they keep us busy. And currently this year is our first year that we're fully homeschooling all of them. We've been private schooling up till now. So this is a whole new journey. So, but before then, Aaron's right. I've been a chiropractor since 2003. I was in active practice up until 2017. And in 2017, I took a hard left turn and shattered a femur. Long story on that, but I could have just retired and done something else, but I decided to be dramatic about it. So I shattered a femur, was in a wheelchair for a year. And so that took me out of active practice. And, honestly, at that point, Aaron, I think we've talked about this before, I really thought I was an entrepreneur before. We had multiple businesses even then, but I realized once I shattered the leg and it broke that false sense of reality off of me, literally, that once I pulled away, I wasn't really an entrepreneur. I was just a business owner. I was my own employee. And at that point, it literally pulled the rug out from under us as far as what we thought we would be doing. And we went into a bunch of other stuff. We'd really, already built another couple of businesses that would have sustained us in that season, which they did. Then we got into real estate for a while, which we still got some holdings in that. We did Airbnb for a while. Now we've got investments in multiple different areas. And we have a Turo business. We've got a barbershop, a barber academy. We've got, coaching business and consulting business, and we still do a lot of stuff in healthcare, but so we kind of do a few other things at this point, which makes it fun.
Yeah. Honestly, Dr. Jim Bob, I feel like the more you tell stories, I'm just like, what hasn't this guy done? What doesn't this guy do? And very cavalier. You talk about Cindy, who's an amazing woman, and that's true. And she's mother of your kids and all those things, but she's a doc too, right? Like like you guys both have been.
Yeah, we worked in the office together, and we saw patients and everything together. And so it was pretty incredible. Yeah. But it's been a fun journey. And really the thing for us is we really started businesses around gaps in markets that we saw weren't being served. And in the health realm, when we first started practice, you got to figure 23 years ago in holistic healthcare, there were a lot of gaps because it was still really fringe. It wasn't popular to do cold plunges and popular to go do saunas and popular to go get, do all these essential oils and vitamins. And if you went to the chiropractor, you really didn't tell anybody, at the Sunday dinner. It was one of those things where we were really on the edge of stuff and we did a lot of education and we loved to teach. And mainly the way that we built our entire practice was on education groups and speaking engagements. Like we did stuff in the office to invite people in. We invited people on the journey with us, But honestly, our biggest passion has always been education. So we just taught. And when we saw gaps in different areas, we're like, well, we can fill that gap. And so we started either bringing in different parts of our own business or building other businesses to go along with it to really feed the different areas that we saw that were lacks in that. And I think that that's the thing that served us so well in being entrepreneurs now and having multiple businesses is, someone told me one time I had this guy that was a friend of mine. I don't know if I call him a mentor or not, but we were friends and we did some other stuff together. And he always, when we were teaching at these men's events together, he always talked about, he's like, if you're going to do a business, and he would start drawing these three concentric circles, on the board. He would say, you want to find something that you're passionate about. He said, you'd want to find something that people want to pay for. And then you want to find something that, you would do even if you didn't get paid. And if all three of those things intersected in one, you'd find a sweet spot. You know what I'm saying? And so we really just looked at the things that we were really passionate about over the years and things that we saw that were something that people would jump on. And we started kind of building some different businesses that way. But the difference, I would think, talking from an operations standpoint, one thing that I realized after getting out of the practice was that when we were in the practice, man, it was pandemonium. It was amazing. I mean, I'll tell you, like, I could have been an ER doc. I love chaos. I love stress. I love all the stuff. I thrive on it. I actually get calmer the crazier things get. Like, it's like chaos around me brings this like peace inside me. I'm like, I could like chill out. So
Yeah.
the office was pure pandemonium all the time and fun and amazing. And I would show up to see patients in full costumes. Like I would wear a Monsters Inc. costume all day and actually act in character all day long to new patients, to then the staff. I mean, it was all kinds of stuff. Like the staff, we had days where I would come in and I would rap everything to them. Like if I wanted them to do something, I would do it in a rap and I would tell them what to do. And they had to respond like that. Or I would dock them. I would get mad. It was a whole thing. It was a whole deal. And I loved it. But the thing I realized after when it all slowed down on purpose that I had to
Yeah.
was I had created such a monster of energy that all depended on me. And I was not a good delegator. I was a good boss, but I think I was really hard to work for because my standards were so high that I didn't give that many chances. It was like, hey, here's what I need. And every new staff person or new doctor that we brought on, our office manager and the team that were with us for years and years, they would always tell them, I'd hear them tell them like, hey, okay, now, hey, look, Dr. Jim Bob acts bipolar part of the time. He's really not, but he will be coming in and he'll be smiling and joking with you, but he's actually furious. And so there's a way said, if he doesn't say he's joking, he's actually mad. He's just trying not to yell at you. So he's being funny. But if he says, da, 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 ha, ha, I'm just kidding, he's really joking. And so, but I had built this thing around, well, I'll just do it myself because, part of it was immaturity. Part of it was necessity. Part of it was pride, and I think part of it was fear, honestly, like some healthy, some not, that I built this thing to where I was irreplaceable and I could do I was like, I'll just do your job if you ain't going to do it right. And you can get out, and it built a thing to where if I had not shattered my leg in 2017, I'm pretty positive, I'm pretty convinced I'd have had a heart attack in that office because I would have run myself into the ground because there was just no other option. I mean, it was like I was going full bore, like all in, no stops, no slowing down. And it was crazy. So, one of the things now, when we're doing leadership coaching or business coaching and we're working with corporations and stuff, and we're working with leaders, we're like, hey, if this is all depending on you, we're doing it wrong. Let's figure out a way to take pressure off of you so that if you're not doing the thing still works and it still runs. Because for me, I knew that if I didn't keep my foot on the pedal, then that wouldn't keep driving at the same pace. And so, man, I just kept my foot down the whole time until I shattered the leg. And the leg thing was a gift. I mean, it was like, well, I'm in a wheelchair, guys. I can't come back. I mean, I left on a Friday to go speak at a conference in Florida. This is literally what happened.
Right.
And at that conference in Florida, I had this tumor in my leg. I didn't know there was in there anyway. At that conference in Florida, I get in a surfing simulator, a flow rider with Harper, who at the time was 9, my oldest. And when I walked into that surfing simulator, it throws me down, shatters my leg because it was hollow. This tumor had eaten all this bone out. I didn't know. It shattered my leg. And so from let's say a Thursday to a Sunday, I went from full-time practice, 85 patients a day, 6 days a week to nothing on my back and a leg immobilizer and a wheelchair.
Okay.
So, the two things I would say from that, just like going off of like, man, things I've learned on that is number one, if I hadn't built the team that I built and had the amount of team around me that knew how to carry the load and fill gaps and find, like fix stuff, it all wouldn't, I mean, we would have been on the street. Like we would have lost everything. So the team really mattered. And then two, it really showed me like we had really like, had this feeling that we needed to start like expanding and diversifying our income. Probably 2 years before that happened, we just had this like, I think we needed to diversify more things. So we started doing things that Cindy had slowly pulled out of the office and started working on a nutrition company over here. We had another franchise that she was building. So when I shattered the leg and was fully out, then like we literally just like pivoted over here and I was like from bed in a leg immobilizer on Zoom, helping her run these other things that we were doing. And the income from these over here fully supported all the staff from this over here for the next 6 to 7 months. We got that associate doctor set up in another clinic, got her set up with all the active patients, found everybody jobs, still kept 2 people on staff to this day. I never quit paying 2 of them. This is 8 years later and I've never taken them off of payroll because, they really have become family. And I'm like, I'll never not pay you. And so I'll just find something that I need done. And we rolled on, you know what I mean? And so the team really mattered. And I'm now realizing, man, I put so much of it on me that it was bound to fall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that, I
Yeah.
mean, so you hit a couple things that I'd love to dig into just a little bit. First thing you talked about, and maybe we'll actually hit it second, but
Sure.
first thing you talked about was that whole idea of like blue ocean, right? As far as what am I looking for that's the next business opportunity? I know Don when he
Yeah.
talks about the DLP capital, when he talks about, he started as an EXP, realtor and then succeeded at highest level and then became a broker. And then from there, he was trying to buy, he made this offer to people he was selling real estate for saying, hey, if I can't sell it, if I can't find a buyer, I'll buy it. So then he
Right.
started finding investors, right? But then what he started realizing was the next biggest need outside of the real estate and investing world, the biggest need he found out of that was contractors. There was just a pain in the ass to deal with, pain in the ass to get
Yeah.
out there, to get the houses fixed up, to
So he
build
did his
houses
own.
even. So he started his own construction company. And then the next problem that he found after that was the cash and hold projects, where he would buy a piece of property and then he wasn't going to flip it or sell it right away and wanted to turn it into a long-term rental. Well, rental management became a problem. So then he started a rental management. So I think looking for the
Yeah.
blue
Then he
ocean
bought a
versus
bank.
opportunities.
Now he's his own bank. And like, I
That's
mean, the
right.
guy
Now,
is like a
yeah,
wizard. Yeah.
like looking for blue ocean, looking for opportunity where it's like, hey, this isn't like you said. I love that whole convexing 3 spheres of,
Mhm.
I think you said, is it something that you enjoy doing? Is it something that people need? And then the
Yeah.
third
Is it
one
something
is,
they'll pay for? Yeah.
yes. Yeah. And so I think that I love thinking about this that way. So I'd love to dig into that a little bit when it comes to what you go on and how you consider businesses in the future. But I'd also, before we get there, I'd like to talk about a little bit what you talked about with identity. I think a lot of people put identity into business. You said something like
Yeah.
80 patients a day. Is that what you said? Something crazy like that?
Yeah. We were averaging 85 a day. Sometimes we'd go over 100. Sometimes we'd come down to 80, 75, but it was always pretty much 85 a day for
And
me,
how many,
my own
that's what I'm
patient.
saying.
And then
That's what
the
I'm
other
saying. That
docs
wasn't
would
like,
say, yeah,
that
20,
wasn't
yeah,
the
yeah.
rest of the docs. That wasn't the docs. That was just all you. You're rolling through
Right.
80 people a day.
Right.
So I think that, I mean, even as you guys are listening, I think that obviously this is a guy that's a high performer, a guy that really shows up and likes the energy. He said he likes the chaos, but at the same time, how long can you run at that speed? How long can you run at that velocity? And then the question of like you addressed, I thought was really good about the idea of a business owner and just buying myself a job versus no, I actually am an entrepreneur and I actually do multiple things like this. And if I pull myself too deep into the wheel well,
Yeah.
one of these businesses is going to actually slow me down. So maybe let's just talk about that for a minute. What's your word to people who maybe are like, Dr. Jim Bob, I feel it, man. I've subscribed to Gary Vee's like whole mindset of rise and grind. And I'm just like
Right.
grinding my life away, but I want to move more into the world where I'm not just buying myself a job. I want to be somebody that's looking at multiple businesses, trying to find that next blue ocean. What's your recommendation for them? Because for you, it took a pretty big, like breaking your
Yeah.
femur.
Yeah. Literally, like it took me being in a wheelchair to really wake me up. Now, Aaron, there's two, it's really a mindset shift, right? Like it's all mindset. And I think that the two things for me that we talk about a lot is having long vision for everything. At the time when I was in full-time practice, number one, I never considered not doing it. Like, it wasn't like, I wonder what would happen if I couldn't do this. Like, I was like, literally the cocky guy that was like, no, I'm going to be a legend in the chiropractic world forever. I'm going to be the, 90-year-old guy that's still like crushing practice, that there's going to be a line of students and doctors out the door wanting to learn what I do, blah, 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 blah. And that was kind of what I was raised up in the profession under, is this celebrity doc, like guru kind of mentality. Right.
Yep.
So one, it's like long vision, like, when our parents were our age, when they went into something, they were like, this is what I'm going to do forever.
Right.
Like, I'm going to retire out of this thing. That's less common now. I mean, like, reality is most of the things that you're going to do, you aren't really going to do forever. You may be involved in it forever, but you're not necessarily going to do. So it's like, hey, like, what would it look like in 10, 15, 20 years if you weren't having to do this full time? What does that need to look like? Because if you're not wanting to actively be doing this thing, right? Like if you aren't actively wanting to build coffee shops in Belize in the next 10 to 15 years, but you still want to own them and have a part of it, what does that look like? And I know you already know, you've looked down this point. You already know exit plans and all this kind of stuff. Cause I know, the circles we run in, but a lot of people don't. Like, I didn't look at exits. I didn't look at what happens if I don't, right? And so having long vision is really key, because it's like, okay, this is great right now. I literally just saw week to week and I knew my goal for the month. And I would go backwards. I would reverse engineer a year. I would go, man, this year was awesome. But I was cranking so hard and so fast, and everything was so busy that we were looking at reverse budgeting and reverse looking each month. And I was looking a week out. Like I knew what was happening for the week. And I was just like, boom, 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 right? I would see patients, that was at the height of my speaking journey at that point too, when I was public speaking a ton. I haven't done it in a while because I've literally like said no a ton because of all of our kids being their age. But at the time, literally when I shattered my leg, I was seeing 85 patients a day. I would see patients all the way up until about Friday at lunch every week. And then I would hop on a plane and I would fly somewhere, and I would normally have a leadership event on a Friday night, and I would teach leaders, and then I would speak all day at a conference on Saturday, and I would either fly back late Saturday night or early Sunday morning, and then I would start it all over again. And I did that a minimum 2 weekends a month. And so I'm in 2 cities. Sometimes I was in 2 cities a week, like just different things, because I was just focused on right then. So long vision is really key. And I think it changes, when you're looking at down the road, it changes how you do the here and now. You know what I mean? The other thing is really gauging and really determining what your win is for you as a family, right? So for Cindy and I, at the time, I think we got so caught up when we first started the office. We didn't have kids, we were young. And so everyone should hustle when they're young. Everyone should hustle on what they're doing to work hard anyway. I mean, I don't think I've ever done anything that I wouldn't hustle on, but I like the different seasons and different speeds and rhythms. We talked about rhythms today, but of like when we didn't have kids, bro, like, yeah, we were hustling, man. Like I was up there working like 18-hour days in the office, because if there was a new patient wanted to come in and it was over my lunch hour, we're like, absolutely, we have an opening for you. We'll get you right in. Dr. Jones open. It didn't matter if they wanted to come in at 11 o'clock at night. I was like, yes, I could be there,
Right.
And so it's just being available. It wasn't this whole thing of like a lot of the docs now, they're like, no, I don't really want to do that. I only want to work 3 hours a day. I was like, that wasn't us, man. I mean, we cranked on it, but we got in this mode, this like blindfolded mindset that, well, that was like, we were in it. By the time we had built it, we had built this monster of a business that we loved, literally, but it depended 100% on us. Like it was wrapped up in us. And our win, when we first built it, in our minds, like our win was building a successful practice and literally changing lives and changing legacy through healthcare. And so we literally we had this big vision statement. I'll never forget. There was like muraled on our wall when you walked in. And it literally said to help as many people as possible to health and wellness, especially children. That's it. It was literally like as many people as possible through our doors to change lives through healthcare. And we did it primarily through kids and pregnant moms, because we knew that we could change generations through them. You get a family when they're pregnant and you change that kid forever, then that kid doesn't become an adult that needs to get fixed. Like we're not fixing senior citizens, love senior citizens. I'm just saying like, I can't change a generation through an 80-year-old with diabetes and rheumatoid arthritis. I can change a generation with a 2-year-old, because now it's like his whole life's different. So our win was that at the beginning. Once we had kids and the season changed and everything, we quickly realized, and after I shattered my leg, we go, oh, wait a minute. our win isn't necessarily, having all these patients and doing all this stuff and never getting to see, my son play sports. Our win was freedom,
Mhm.
time freedom and money freedom to be able to say yes to anything that we wanted to do, anytime we wanted to do it, and to never have to tell our kids no on something financially that we knew was going to really build them up. Right.
Mm.
And so it really was dual freedoms. Right. Then we tagged on our third win is making as much money as possible to build the kingdom, to like really funnel into organizations that are changing, changing communities and changing lives. So we support a lot of them that way. Once we understood our win, now when we're building businesses, I mean, people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you do all these things. Well, honestly, now I work less than I've ever worked in my life and have more businesses than I've ever had in my life because now knowing our win of having 100% freedom, when people bring me opportunities on business or people want to partner with us up or I see a need and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity. We could build a business in this. I never plan on actually doing all the work or spending time in there. And if they come to me actually in the last, let's say last 6, 7 years, 8 years, the only business, I've only taken on one business that was going to take any of my time, really more than like a few hours a week, because it's part of my deal on it. I'm like, look, I'll take minority ownership, like Dan Martell style. Like he really is my spirit animal. I'm like, Dan Martell, the way that he runs his companies is he has companies come to him almost like Shark Tank, or he sees things in the tech world and then he goes, hey, I'll fund this whole thing. I'll get it set up. I'll take 40% of the company. You run it though. I'm going to check in on you, but I'm not doing anything in it. You go do it. I'm going to fund the whole thing and I'll be the bank, but then I take 40%. That's what we do. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll take minority ownership and then, we crank on it. Some of them I'll like help them with a lot of the vision casting. I'll help them with a lot of the semantics as we go. Part of them, I'm like main investor and they'll come to me when they need stuff, but I don't have to like really be in it because we know our win. Our win is having freedom with the kids and being with them as much as possible to build them into who they're called to be. And so all of our businesses wrap around that instead of, it's really a change of mindset of instead of at the beginning, we meshed our kids into our business. We like helped like our kids were just like, hey, we're going to do this. And this is what's happening in the office. You just better show up. You want to see
Right.
dad, go hang out at the office. Literally like Harper would come play. I remember when he was little, like I had so many patients, like I would leave so early and go home so late. So he would just bring him to the office and he would play toys in the adjusting rooms while I saw patients so I could see him.
Right.
And that was like normal. Right. And that was respectable. Like, wow, you're so busy. Well, now I don't want that. And so if it's going to take time away from my kids, then I just say no. You know what I mean? And so those are really two of the bigger things I think. And it all goes back to mindset. It's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
What kind of legacy are you wanting to build? And what kind of team do you need to put into play to build it? Like, who do you need to put in there? You know?
Yeah. It almost like to me that feels like we're out. Like I know that you were a big, and I'm going to use an analogy that I obviously know nothing about, but you know a lot of like you're a big like right shotguns, rifles, something like that, right? What did you do?
Yeah, I
Like,
shot shotguns professionally for a long time. Yep.
or like, anyways, you were talking about it, and I know this is probably shotguns don't use a scope, but in my mind, it was like the convexing 3 spheres where they all meet in the middle, and that's what I'm going to do for business. It's almost like now we're going to put a scope on that rifle, and it's like, no,
Yep.
that's the winning filter, right? Like,
Yep.
yes, obviously we're able to do this in any kind of business, and you've obviously done it, right? We're talking about barbershops. I know you've done like classic cars. I know you've done like crazy things that have nothing
Yeah.
to do with anything about anything we've talked so far. But it's awesome to me that no, there's another filter, there's another overlay, there's another scope that we put on this sharpshooter that we're using, and that's, is it going to be a win based upon what we want? And what we want and what
Right.
success is for us is those 2 levels of freedom, level with the
Yeah.
family and level to have the time to be able to do what it is that we want to do. So I love that.
Yeah. And it's really clarified a whole lot of stuff for us. And, you talk about it with investing. I mean, people that invest all the time, they're like, hey, what's your investor profile? And they're
Right.
asking you like, what's your level of risk? What are you comfortable doing? And what's like, that way they can kind of gauge what your perfect type of investment is. Like, are you more of a bonds type of guy, or do you want to go all in on these new businesses and buy car washes, and go in on these different things? So, but that's like what it is for us. Is like, we're fine with high risk. I'm just not fine with it taking time away from my family. That's it. And so, I mean, I don't care that it takes a ton of money. That doesn't bother me. And that doesn't scare me or make me nervous at all because, I'm like a what's the worst case scenario type guy. So I'll say all the time, people are like, oh man, I don't know. This makes me nervous. I'm like, what's the worst thing that happens? We lose all of our money.
Right.
I'm like, We made more money. I'm like, but the kids are good. We got tons of time. Marriage is good. Everybody's good. We're good, you know? And
Yeah.
so it just goes back to that win. And I think if you, if a guy or girl, if a owner or someone who's wanting to do something new or shift or pivot has it in their mind up front, then it makes the decision so much easier. And there's no more of like coulda, woulda, shouldas after or pivots in the middle of something. You already have your parameters. And as the teams build, like our teams know, like you only can call and text me at certain times of the day. And if you need help with certain things or we're doing stuff like my COO, he's
Yeah.
like, we get on a call at the beginning of a Monday and he knows exactly the gaps of when he can call me. And if he calls me or needs me outside of that, everything had better be burning down or I won't respond until the next day when I'm back on because we're on with the kids. And how am I going to ask them to get off technology, focus on what we're doing, do all the different stuff? And I'm like buried in my phone, like responding to teams and doing all my stuff. You know what I mean? So that's really what's worked well for us.
I love it. Dr. Jim Bob, I think, man, I feel like you and I could do 3 more episodes. We could pull apart all these different things we've talked about.
You and I never have a lack of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I just love it. I talk about it a lot though. That one of my favorite times with you was that trip. Like when we met at the airport and we headed up the mountain for that retreat with a bunch of dudes that were
it's like a 2-hour drive or 3-hour drive, whatever it was.
Yeah, just had sweet connection. So I'm grateful for your friendship, man. I appreciate the wisdom that you've dropped on people today. If people wanted to hear more about you or like follow you more, or where would you suggest people go?
Really the two easiest places. I mean, Instagram is probably the best place for people to find me. It's just Dr. Jim Bob, doctor spelled out, DOCTOR Jim Bob. And I do a lot of stuff on there. I kind of have everything split right now into health focus or leadership focus. And so if it's health focus, it's drjimbob.com. And I've got all the things I love, everything I'm teaching on healthcare, like we'll do stuff over there. If it's leadership and coaching focused or business focused or nonprofits and stuff like that we work with, it's fiercemovement.com. And my partner, Craig, and I have all of our stuff in there and community for leaders on that side.
I love it. Well, Dr. Jim Bob, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me, Aaron. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, dude. Ops Experts, I hope that you enjoyed it today. And I hope you check out more of Jim Bob's stuff because he's a good dude, good man, and obviously super wicked smart, as you can tell from the show today. So I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you here next time on Ops Experts Club.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ops Experts Club podcast. New episodes available every week on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you're curious about how some of the biggest names in entrepreneurship have scaled their businesses to the next level, check out some of our best content on this topic by going to foundationsthatscale.com. You can find the link in our bio and do your part to improve as an ops expert.